This is a special presentation of the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome to special live coverage of the spring general election here on your local Civic Media radio station.
The polls are closing, and you'll hear results from reporters in local communities around Wisconsin, plus tracking the statewide races, including one being watched across the country, an open seat on the state Supreme Court.
Live election coverage of the results and what it means for you starts now. Here's Todd Allbaugh, host of the Todd Allbaugh Show, along with Dan Shafer of the Recombobulation area.
And good evening, everybody, from the world headquarters of Civic Media in downtown Madison on a pretty beautiful night here. Other parts of Wisconsin seeing some precipitation, but about a block away from the Wisconsin state capitol here tonight. Welcome to Wisconsin Decides 2025, where by the end of the evening, we should know who will be the next justice on the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, who will be the next superintendent of public instruction here in Wisconsin, as well as do voters say yay or nay to a new constitutional amendment regarding voter ID. Glad to have you along. Going to be an exciting evening. No better person to enjoy it with than my friend, my colleague, our ongoing contributor here at Civic Media. Not only that, but also happens to be the political editor, the founder of the Recombobulation area, Dan Shafer. Dan, it's been a discombobulating few months in elections here in Wisconsin, but tonight we're going to have some answers.
It sure has, Todd. Record spending in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. The eyes of the nation, perhaps the world, descending once again upon Wisconsin for another everything on the line race. We've got a lot to get to tonight. I'm excited to be here with you at Civic Media HQ in Madison,
right.
Wisconsin.
It's great to be here. And you're right. I mean, I was watching some of the national news shows. I mean, you've got reporters from every major network, as you said, descending on Wisconsin. It's all over the headlines. It's kind of cool to be the center of attention, but I think for a lot of people, and we're going to get into this a little bit later on the spending, the ads, radio, TV, online, I think people know there's an election going on, and let's get right into it right away. Some of your reporting, what we're hearing around the state, we could be looking at record turnout for a spring election.
Yeah, that's right. I think we had very high turnout 2 years ago when the balance of power in the Wisconsin Supreme Court was also on the line, when Janet Protasewicz defeated Daniel Kelly. But I think, and the turnout total for that was about 1.85 million people across Wisconsin. I would not be surprised at all if we get to 2 million for a turnout here in Wisconsin. We're getting reports around the state from various municipalities that have had to bring additional ballots to the polls. We're hearing a little bit of that out of Milwaukee, trying to make sense of what's going on there. Also in Green Bay, they had record turnout. And so that will be certainly one of the stories that we'll be monitoring throughout the night.
Traditionally in Wisconsin, it's been, the old theory is higher turnouts tend to help Democratic candidates. But we saw last fall, Dan Shafer, when there was a record turnout and Donald Trump won the state.
Yeah, that's part of the kind of the realignment that we're seeing in our politics here in Wisconsin and across the nation. Donald Trump did especially well last year with what those of us in the political science dork community refer to as low propensity voters. Now, these are people who who may vote in a presidential election, but might not necessarily show up in a midterm, in a spring election, in your school board or common council races, whatever it might be. And since Trump did especially well with that group of voters, it might suggest in this election that higher turnout could help Brad Schimmel, the Trump-endorsed candidate in the race.
For those that might be listening, standing in line, a reminder that under Wisconsin law, if you were in line by 8 o'clock, stay there. To Dan's point, Green Bay, Milwaukee, these where reports are that those places are running out of ballots or having to print new ones. If you were in line at 8 o'clock, Dan, it's people's constitutional right in Wisconsin that they get a chance to vote.
Yes, as the line goes, if you're in line, stay in line. Don't let anyone take away your opportunity to cast your ballot and make your voice heard in this critically important election in Wisconsin.
Lots going on here. We're going to go to Savannah Tomei Olson in just a minute at the Susan Crawford campaign. But before we do, already some results, Dan. Not from Wisconsin, though. The other place that a lot of people are watching tonight in election results are Florida. two open congressional seats there. Of course, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House and Congress, has a very, very slim majority right now. And these two open seats were critical to have him keep his majority down there. The thinking was that the Democrats might have a chance, particularly in the Mike Walls seat. He has gone on to be Donald Trump's national security advisor. That's Florida 6. But tonight, everything seems fine for the Republican candidate. Randy Fine was 56.7% of the vote. And Josh Wheel, yes, it's pronounced Wheel, different than our CEO here at Civic Media. Spelled the same as Sage Weil. But Josh Wheel, the Democrat, with 42.7%, and 99% of the results are in there. The Florida 6 is in Republican hands.
Yeah, and I think that is to be expected for this type of race. And when Waltz won last year, he won with more than 66% of the vote. So, and that is another kind of piece of the realignment that we're seeing. Those low propensity voters have been shifting more Republican, but at the same time, some of those more reliable voters, college educated voters, people who might show up in every last election, every time there's something on the ballot, those voters have been trending much more Democratic in recent years. So, with a tightening margin there, that is, kind of what we've been seeing for some of these special elections in the House in the last few years.
For the Democrats in Florida 6, as Maxwell Smart used to say on Get Smart, missed it by that much. In Florida 1, not going to amount a whole lot better for Democrats there. Another open seat, the Matt Gaetz seat. Yes, that Matt Gaetz. It was a Republican seat. And tonight, the Republican cruises to victory there. Jimmy Patronis with 57% of the vote, and Gay Valamont, the Democrat, with 42.2%, 97% in there. AP has called it the Republican.
Yeah, no surprises there. And, we'll be getting into the much closer, much more closely contested races here in the purplest of purple states in Wisconsin.
But interesting, again, maybe for just folks like us who watch these things, but I think for voters in Wisconsin, to your point, we're seeing kind of this realignment a little bit. Races getting even closer in some places in Wisconsin, or maybe municipalities around Milwaukee, those counties called the WOW counties, might be a little bit more purple. And to your point, I thought that was a great point, that even in Florida 6, the Walls seat, he won this fine Republican candidate, but it's a lot smaller, and maybe that shows that and this is what we're going to watch tonight, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this, to me, in Wisconsin tonight, is as much a referendum on Donald Trump and Elon Musk as it is the Supreme Court candidates.
I think you're absolutely right about that. And I think the fact that this election is happening just 71 days into Donald Trump's second term, everything in the political universe we're viewing through the prism of Donald Trump's scorched earth return to office right now. And especially given the involvement of Elon Musk, both in Donald Trump's administration and in this particular race, where he has been by far the biggest, most active political donor in this race as well. So kind of merging the power of being in the White House with the money that he's able to throw around. There's really nothing like this that we've ever seen in Wisconsin politics. So I think in so many ways, this race will be viewed as a referendum on Trump, and perhaps even more so, a referendum on Elon Musk.
Our mutual friend Charles Franklin runs the the Marquette Law School poll here in Wisconsin, has talked about the fact that despite some of these policies of Trump's being controversial, the effects of those policies haven't reached or been felt by a whole lot of Wisconsinites yet, and that's keeping his popularity, so to speak, his positives, relatively high.
He has maintained, and this is kind of a joke that Charles will make at those Marquette University Law Poll reveals, is that nobody really likes anybody. So Trump's high approval rating is still like a couple points underwater, but that's the case for most politicians across the state of Wisconsin. Elon Musk, not quite as well liked as Donald Trump. So I think that's why Democrats have focused so much on Musk, more so than Trump in this race.
The big race, of course, tonight here in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race, and we are going to go to our great reporters all evening long who are in the field for us, covering Judge Susan Crawford's race tonight. Of course, she is the candidate which was endorsed officially, technically, this is a nonpartisan race, but everybody knows that really isn't the case. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin has endorsed Susan Crawford. The Republican Party of Wisconsin has endorsed Brad Schimmel. Let's head out on the road now to the election night party for Judge Susan Crawford, where we find WMDX's Savannah Tomei Olson standing by. Savannah, thanks for being there this evening. Set the stage. What are you seeing and hearing tonight?
Well, I wish I could tell you that there's a ton going on, but it's mostly just us reporters here right now. But it's a big group, and one of the biggest I've ever seen. This is my 10th year covering elections in Wisconsin, and there are easily 35, maybe 45 of us journalists here, between the videographers, photographers, writers, on-air reporters, that sort of thing. It's a hop-in place if you're in news right now. We have just started to see some people start to walk in here and get their drinks at the bar, because you can't have an election night watch party in Wisconsin without the open bar. But I want to talk about turnout for a second,
Sure.
just because, the Wisconsin Elections Commission said that we broke early voting records back in 2023 in that state Supreme Court race. And then this time they released the data on Sunday morning. We doubled that record. So there are already tons of people who voted early, more than ever before here in Wisconsin since the pandemic. We've just seen so many more people voting. And when I went to go vote today, I always bring my son. It's kind of treacherous bringing a 2.5-year-old with you to the polling place. Got to bring some trucks and some cars. But by the time I got there at 3 p.m, I was voter number 1,000 something. And the poll workers told me they had a couple slow periods throughout the day, but they said they couldn't remember a time where there was not a voter in the polling place. And they said they, in a spring election, had never seen that before. So there are all eyes on this race tonight.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. For those who are going to be listening throughout the night, Savannah, where is this party being held tonight for Judge Susan Crawford?
This is at the Best Western Park Hotel here on Madison's Capitol Square. And this room is not gigantic. I would say this is not a room that could hold, 300 people, especially with so much blocked off for us here with the press. So I think this will be more of an intimate gathering here than some of the watch parties I've been to in the past.
Sounds great, Savannah. We appreciate you being there. Thanks for the great reporting. We'll check in with you throughout the evening. Let us know as soon as you have any news there. We'll certainly go to you. Savannah Tomei Olson from WMDX here in Madison. Covering the Republican-endorsed candidate tonight, Brad Schimel. He is the former Attorney General as well, and he is the candidate that's endorsed, as we said, by the Republican side. Melissa Kay is standing by. We're going to go to her in just a moment. Well, first of all, of course, we have to do a little news, Dan, as it turns out. Still have a couple of ads. No candidate ads, thank goodness, tonight in tonight's broadcast.
Finally.
Yeah, finally, right? Savannah told me also talk about an open bar. We don't have one of those here tonight at our desk.
We may have to add that to future election night plans here at Civic Media.
Very good. We're going to come back, as we said, and check in with Melissa Kay at the Schimel Watch Party tonight. Also going to have reports to you at the Jill Underly Watch Party. Dr. Jill Underly, the incumbent Secretary of Department of Public Instruction, and Brittany Kinzer, the Republican-endorsed candidate as well. All that and more. Stay with us. It's Wisconsin Decides 2025 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Yo, I'm your old basketball. Haven't seen you out on the courts in a while. Why not pass me over to Goodwill? Donating me helps Goodwill's mission to provide career training and support services right here in the community. And that's a slam dunk. Donate today. Hey, I got next.
To find your nearest Goodwill locations and to learn more about our mission, please visit goodwill.org. Goodwill, where your things start new lives.
Reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding, just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government and the aspiration for justice in America. As always, I am delighted. I am honored that you have chosen to spend some of your weekend time with me in discussion.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel. Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Scott Clace.
I'm just sitting here looking at my brackets, my friend.
Is this your favorite sporting event of the year, the tournament?
It absolutely is. Are you a Wisconsin Badger fan?
I am. Wisconsin built such a great program here, it was hard not to be a fan. I'm not saying this will happen, Scott, but I do still have 4 years of eligibility if it ever came to that with the NCAA.
If they need you.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Out here in the middle of these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on earth. That's how it feels when you're struggling with your mental health. But you don't have to feel alone. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the
And welcome back to Wisconsin Decides 2025 here on election night, April 1st. No fooling, we will have results for you throughout the evening, along with political editor of Civic Media and the founder of the Recombobulation area, Dan Shafer. I'm Todd Allbaugh. Glad that you have joined us here on election evening across Civic Media. Going to go back out in the field in just a moment, Dan, but already some results are starting to trickle in the Supreme Court race.
Yeah, I think one of the counties that I'm going to be watching early in the evening here is my home county of Waukesha County. Now, Waukesha County typically has been a Republican stronghold over the years, but that has been eroding in recent elections. So the numbers there are really key to the overall statewide result, as Waukesha County is the third most populous county in the state. And so given that Brad Schimmel is from Waukesha County, he's a Waukesha County judge, he has built his career there, he needs to do well in Waukesha County in order for him to win. So with only 22% of the votes counted so far, Brad Schimmel is at just under 62%. I think 60% is the key number there. Schimmel needs to be over 60% in Waukesha County, I think, if he wants to win statewide tonight.
We'll continue to watch the numbers. No calls yet, no projections, also no results that we have seen yet for the statewide referendum, which we'll be getting to in just a minute. Let's continue to check in with our field team across Wisconsin. We already talked to Savannah Tomei Olson at the Judge Susan Crawford event tonight here in Madison. Let's go back out onto the road. Our own Melissa Kay from WFHR, beautiful Wisconsin Rapids, is at the Brad Schimmel event tonight. Of course, Schimmel, a judge from Waukesha County right now, appointed by Scott Walker on his way out the door, and of course the former Republican Attorney General of Wisconsin. Melissa, thank you very much for being there tonight. Set the stage. Where do we find you tonight, and what are you seeing?
Hi, Todd and Dan. I am at the Marriott West here in Waukesha, and this place is already hopping. The band set up when I was getting here about 6:30 or so. The Brad Schimmel's band that he participates in is 4 on the floor, and they've got, I guess, about 5 to 7 people. They haven't started playing yet, but I did get to hear them warm up. And there's just a steady hum of chatter. People are mingling. They're obviously getting drinks. They've got a great food table set up, sandwiches, cheese and crackers. I'm kind of a little jealous of their veggie tray. They have some asparagus spears on there that look delicious.
Very nice.
But yeah, overall, it's just a buoyant, excited, happy crowd here in Waukesha.
I did not know that the former Attorney General, now Judge Schimmel, is part of a band. 4 on the floor. That's an interesting nugget. Yeah. Do we know what he plays?
He plays bass.
Really? Wow.
And
all right.
And I think he sings as well, or at least he talks because he does have a microphone. And when he was warming up, I got to hear a little preview. They have a female lead singer tonight. I think that it's kind of a revolving band from what I gathered, that they have different musicians kind of join and play with them at different venues here and there throughout the area. And I think it's classic rock.
All right. Well, that's great. Great reporting.
Yep, they play a lot of cover bands.
Nicely done, Melissa. I appreciate you setting the stage. And between you and Savannah now, Dan and I are both hungry and thirsty tonight. So enjoy yourself there. We'll check back in with you in just a little while. But thank you, Melissa, for being there tonight. We look forward to your great reporting there at the Marriott West in Waukesha on the Judge Brad Schimmel campaign. Thanks, Melissa. The other big race, Dan. Our pleasure. The other big race, Dan, that a lot of people we're all watching, of course, is the race for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. The incumbent, Dr. Jill Underly, who is endorsed by the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, is going against Brittany Kinzer, a school consultant who is endorsed by the Republican Party. This one could get very interesting. Of course, there was a Democratic primary in which Jeff Wright lost to Underly. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin endorsed Underly in that primary. The Democratic governor, Tony Evers, who held this position for 3 terms before becoming governor, has refused to endorse fellow Democrat Underly in the general. What do we make of this?
Well, I think, typically this has not been a particularly close race historically in the state of Wisconsin. I wrote a piece on this after that primary that you mentioned about the state Supreme Court race, did a little digging into the history. It has been since the 1990s that this race was decided by a single digit margin. I think that could definitely be the case today, given the turnout that we're seeing, given how much the Wisconsin Republicans have been putting behind Brittany Kinzer's campaign. She's been campaigning with Schimmel, and so I think there are not that many split ticket voters in the state of Wisconsin, enough to determine some different outcomes as we've seen over the years. But given that heightened turnout, heightened attention to this race, and the fact that Underly only got less than 40% in that primary, I think she is a vulnerable incumbent. But I do think she is still probably the favorite. But I think Kinzer could give her a real run for her money here.
Former Democratic mayor of Madison, Mayor Dave Teshlevich, known as Mayor Dave, endorsed Kinzer last week, and the Madison newspaper, the Wisconsin State Journal editorial board, also endorsed Kinzer over the weekend. Are we reading too much into this? Am I reading too much into this, or could this be this kind of fracturing of Democrats on this race?
Yeah, this has been, the undercard, but compared to the $100 million spending in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. But I think there is a chance for Kinzer to win this one. I do wonder if Underly will do a little bit better in rural areas that really rely on their public schools. She's been a big champion of public schools. And then conversely, I think Kinzer could do well in the WOW counties around Milwaukee, where, the so-called school choice movement is a little bit more popular.
Let's go out to the field right now, and our great reporter James Kelly from WFHW up in the Chippewa Valley up there is standing by at the Kinzer campaign. James, about 2 minutes left. We'll come back to you after the break, but set to the stage. Where do we find you tonight, and what do you see?
We are at the Sinestra Milwaukee West here in Wauwatosa. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's actually the first time I've been to this part of the state personally. Pretty good crowd here, about 30 people or so. Some cheers, some groans as the flipping of the giant projector continues.
All right, very good. Big crowd yet, or is it still kind of too early at this point?
About 30 people, and there's a lot of socializing going on here, which is, not a lot of screen watching, and should get a couple of cheers here as Kinzer actually just pulled back ahead.
Yeah, it's going back and forth as Dan and I were just chatting tonight. This has kind of gone under the radar, maybe just because of the prominence of the Supreme Court race. But this could get very interesting tonight. We'll see as it goes along, but we'll be interested in your reporting down there. So thanks for being there, James. We'll check back in with you in just a little bit. James Kelly at the Brittany Kinzer campaign, and we're going to check in with the Underly campaign in just a while as well. Results are starting to trickle in. We'll update you on where we're at. Dan Shafer, our political editor, is here. I'm here, Todd Allbaugh as well. And as always, our friend, our colleague who holds it all together, Aaron Zommers, on the board doing the great producing job tonight. Stay with us. It's Wisconsin Decides 2025 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
92.7 WMDX.
And it looks like we have...
What? Is he on?
25 hours, 4 minutes, wrapping up just this past hour. I yield the floor. The speech and effort to
Hey, can we do a quick sound check, Nick?
The closer I get to you, the way you make me feel. How's that sound?
Sounds good. All right.
All right.
We are starting with one of our other reporters in the field, and then I will bring you back in.
Beautiful.
Tariffs on America's biggest trading partners tomorrow. No specifics yet, other than the White House saying they'll take effect immediately. The Associated Press projecting that Republicans have won both congressional special elections today in Florida. Plenty of interest in Wisconsin State Supreme Court election tonight. Our affiliate WISN reporting ballot shortages at some locations due to historic turnout. This is ABC News.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
The Brewers get clobbered by KC. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Milwaukee losing to the Royals 11-1 at AmFam Field. The Brewers shorthanded at pitcher and not getting strike calls at the plate. By the seventh inning, associate manager Ricky Weeks had enough. And when he disputed the ump's calls about strikes and balls, he got ejected. I spoke to Brewers catcher William Contreras.
Es cuestión de juego. Me encantó lo que hizo y bien por él.
No, I loved what he did there. He was defending me. In my opinion, I think the umpire had a terrible game back there, and he had my back there in that situation, and I loved what Ricky went out there and did.
So with 8 of the Brewers pitchers on the injury list, who will start tonight? Manager Pat Murphy.
Chad Patrick will get to start. We're not at full strength, but it is what it is right now. Chad Patrick, wasn't supposed to make our team necessarily. He's getting an opportunity.
NBA Bucks basketball tonight. They host the Phoenix Suns, hoping to snap that 4-game losing streak. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Areas of rain tonight. There could be some mixed snow at times, breezy with a low in the mid-30s. Rain and a few thunderstorms for tomorrow. Staying breezy, warmer too, high mid-60s. Partly sunny and low 50s Thursday. Currently 35 degrees.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Beyonce has always been ambitious, putting out album after album, switching genres, and putting out country music material, and apparently she even dreams about winning an Oscar. The Grammy-winning actress told her Austin Powers co-star Michael Caine that an Academy Award was her goal. Caine shared the info about the then 19-year-old Beyonce in his new memoir, saying he thought she was incredibly talented. He was right. Since then, she's become one of the most decorated music artists of all time. Caine's new book is called Don't Look Back, You'll Trip Over, My Guide to Life. In Girls, Aaron Rodgers' awkwardly dated news, actress Shailene Woodley is joining the cast of Paradise. The well-received show has announced that Woodley will appear in Season 2 as a recurring character in the Fox political thriller. The show was consistently ranked #1 on Hulu and Disney Plus throughout its first season. Season 2 is currently filming. I've reached out to the former Mr. Shailene Woodley Rodgers for comment, but nothing yet. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Did you know that Wisconsin has a new, quick, and free online tax filing tool called IRS Direct File? Direct File is changing how people file their taxes and bringing more money into our state through the federal Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit. File your federal and state taxes online directly with the IRS from your smartphone or computer. On average, file in less than 1 hour. Available in English and Spanish. Visit directfile.irs.gov to see if you're eligible. Sponsored by United Way of Wisconsin.
When we got our home appraised, we felt robbed. Compared to a similar home right around the corner, our appraisal was $80,000 less.
Latino and Black homeowners are about twice as likely as white homeowners to get low appraisals. If you believe your home has been unfairly appraised because of race or national origin, contact HUD at hud.gov/fair housing.
25 seconds.
That's hud.gov/fair housing.
And welcome back to Wisconsin Decides 2025. It is 34 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. Welcome back into our world headquarters studios in downtown Madison, along with political editor of Civic Media and founder of the Recombobulation area, Dan Shafer. I'm Todd Allbaugh. Glad to have you along. Going to go back to the field in just a moment, get an update from the Dr. Jill Underly campaign. But Dan Shafer, before we go any further, a fluid story, a breaking news story here. This coming across Channel 3000 at about 7:47, so just over a half an hour ago, and saying that multiple polling places in Milwaukee have reported a shortage of ballots, and the city's top official is confirming that. According to WisPolitics, Milwaukee officials have been working to send more ballots to the seven polling locations that were affected late today. Paulina Gutierrez, The executive director of the Milwaukee election said in a press conference tonight that the city was sending early vote machines to the impacted polling places, allowing voters to cast their vote on an electronic machine. This machine then prints a ballot that can be fed into the counts. Gutierrez said at a press conference, quote, "We apologize for the delays that are happening. We ask you to remain patient. Please stay in line." Also, she said that the officials have no reason to believe that they would need to find any court orders to keep these sites open. Dan, this is your neck of the woods down there. You're familiar with these folks down there. We don't want to alarm people, but I think it's an important story to watch as the evening goes on.
Certainly. I think, one of the stories that we are always going to be watching in any statewide election is that Milwaukee Central count number that comes at the very end of the night. If there are added complications, as we're seeing here, that could delay things, that could, muddy up the system a little bit. But we'll await further updates as to if this was really, truly impacting people on the ground in Milwaukee.
I mean, people are still in line and they're printing ballots.
There's also, this is one of the things that happens in Milwaukee. I early voted there as well. And so there's like a digital system that you kind of punch your selections on there, and it will print out your completed ballot, and that will go into the absentees, and that will go into the central count. So there is a process to be dealt with there. It's just not ideal.
Very good. What is ideal is our great team across the state of Wisconsin. And Derek Tritz is standing by as we continue on with the Department of Public Instruction race. Dr. Jill Underly, the incumbent there, endorsed by the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Derek is standing by. Derek, we appreciate you being there. Where do we find you tonight? And what is the scene?
So I'm at the event venue in the Concourse Hotel in Madison right now. And it's an intimate space, but there is a decent amount of people here. Everyone's lively. I'm looking at about 20 guests, not including the press here. People are conversing. People are having fun. It is looking like everyone's having a great time here. There's also an impressive spread of snacks here. We've got some roasted butter squash, some Swedish meatballs, and some vegetable spring rolls. Not what I was expecting for a campaign watch party, but welcome nonetheless.
That sounds fantastic. I appreciate you giving us the rundown as our other reporters have. And, if you get a chance to bring something over later on about 2 o'clock in the morning, do so. If there's anything left, we'll be happy to do that. Derek, again.
Of course, you can count on me.
Have we seen the candidate yet? Is Dr. Underly there, or no sign of anybody from the campaign proper, just supporters at this point?
I haven't seen anyone except for the contact for press from the campaign so far. I haven't seen Underly yet. I did encounter someone who actually was removed from the venue. Someone I thought was part of the guest list was running up and down the halls yelling, "I'm looking for Elon," and in the middle of my conversation with him was yanked out of the event.
Well, that's news. That's news. And Dan Shafer, this goes to another story we've seen earlier tonight, here just about a half a mile from where Derek is at the concourse, maybe 3/4 of a mile on the University of Madison campus. And again, we don't want to make too much about it, but it kind of goes hand in hand with what Derek just said. Tell us what's happening with a Tesla on campus.
Yeah, there was reports of, I'm reading a tweet from State Representative Francesca Hong in Madison. She said there was a Cybertruck driver came onto the campus grounds, threw drug paraphernalia everywhere, screaming free weed, and fortunately no one was hurt and the driver was apprehended. But we're all in a heightened state here. We're all pretty discombobulated. Right. There's a lot going on.
So we got a Tesla Cybertruck with people screaming on campus, and Derek's got a guy running up and down the halls screaming for Elon. It could be quite a night.
Just another normal election night here in the state of Wisconsin.
Derek, great reporting. We appreciate you, my friend. We'll check in with you throughout the evening. Let us know if you have news. We'll get right to you. So thank you very much, Derek Tritz, standing by here in Madison at the Dr. Jill Underly campaign. Any result updates you want to tell people with Dan Shafer?
Yeah, sure. So, different counties across Wisconsin get reported at different times. And I was mentioning earlier that Waukesha's number comes in pretty quick. There are 57% of the votes in right now in Waukesha, according to the New York Times' tracker, and Brad Schimmel is at 58%. So that's one that we're seeing that would be a little bit advantage Crawford there. I think Schimmel needs to be north of 60% if he wants to win statewide. Another county that typically counts their votes early is La Crosse County. Now, La Crosse County last fall, like much of western Wisconsin, swung pretty significantly towards Trump. And in the 2024 presidential election, La Crosse County went 54% for Kamala Harris, 45% for Donald Trump. Now, Crawford seems to have a much wider margin there in their early count, as we're seeing in La Crosse. Crawford is at 63% in La Crosse County, with 80% of the votes in, with Schimmel only at 37%. That could be a pretty strong indicator that this map might look a little bit more like the one from 2023 when Janet Protasewicz won.
Very interesting indeed. Lots of spending, as we talked about at the top of our broadcast tonight. Lots of dollars, record number. Probably, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, by the time this all shakes out, going to be north of $100 million.
Certainly is going to be the case. This is going to be the most expensive state court race in American history, and it might double the record set on that from 2 years ago from the 2023 Wisconsin Supreme Court race. And so much of that has, in so many ways, been driven by Elon Musk. He is by far the biggest donor in this race. I was at an event with the Crawford campaign last night in Madison, and Susan Crawford was saying that just Elon alone has spent more than $25 million in this race. Who knows if we see the final reporting come in, if that number is going to be somewhere around $30 million.
Let's go to the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. He is Nick Ramos, and his organization has been following this closely. Nick, always a pleasure to have you on our broadcast. Thank you for spending time with us. You joined us tonight via StreamYard. What do you make of this? What is Wisconsin Democracy Campaign? I know you've been tracking this, but thoughts on just this out of record unprecedented spending in this race?
Well, Dan, Todd, it's always a pleasure to be able to see your beautiful faces. I mean, usually it's early in the day, but it is election day, and so I'm glad to be here virtually with you fellas. And to all the viewers out there, honestly, our elections are something that a lot of people put a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into. I mean, it's our democracy in action. But today is one of those days where I feel like it needs to be a breaking point for this state. Like, no matter who your candidate is, I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, independent, we really have to be alarmed at the grotesque billionaire arms race that we got to watch happen right off the heels of a presidential election. And as you guys have correctly stated, I mean, it's interesting when earlier in this race, I was making projections of about 100 million and people thought I was crazy. And then here we are, and Dan said it, we're when the dust settles and we get to look at these final spending reports in July, it will be over $100 million. And to think about, in a time when there's so many people that are working their tails off to try and pay for rent, feed their families, try and make ends meet, we have billionaires treating our elections like it's a game and treating it like they get an opportunity to, hedge bets and, see what works. And the thing is that people in Wisconsin, it's a smart electorate. We show up, and I'm going to wager that beyond just breaking the money record, we're going to break a voter turnout record tonight. And I think when you hear about the reporting that's happening in Milwaukee right now, as far as the unexpected high voter turnout on election day, it's people are sitting here being like, you know what? It's April. It's usually a low voter turnout election, but we've seen enough. And we're tired of people feeling like they're going to trample all over us. And so my hope is that we do some real campaign finance reform in the state. And I think after this election, we need to have some serious conversations with every lawmaker about this.
Nick, you're in touch with members all over the state of Wisconsin. You're out there on the ground. Help us spend a minute or so just talking about this, that did this election start to turn? We'll see what the results are. But was there a turning point when Elon Musk really started dumping, millions and millions into this? And then he comes into Green Bay this weekend personally. It seems like that part of this race went from policies and differences on these two candidates, Schimmel and Crawford, to this is now a referendum on someone coming into Wisconsin in Elon Musk. and taking our elections. Was that a turning point for the people you talked to across the state?
I think without a question it was. And I heard testimony from folks that said that they weren't planning on voting at all in this election until they heard that there were these just $1 million cash dumps. And also it's hard to like in Wisconsin, like I guess we're numb to it in the bubble, but like to be literally subjected to nonstop direct mail, commercials, digital ads, everywhere you go, it is being thrown in your face because of the amount of money that's being spent to try and persuade you to go vote. It's like people are standing up and they're saying, like, you know what? Like, Wisconsin, we don't get bought in this state. I don't care if it's a Democrat millionaire billionaire, a Republican millionaire billionaire. Like people are all like, you know what? I'm going to show you because Wisconsin historically has had great turnout, and so it's an interesting situation where you get to watch in real time the things that are happening on X/Twitter, and then you see at the national level what's happening. And people are like, oh, this is the first time. I mean, everyone sits there and says money's a problem, but now they're seeing it infiltrate every aspect of their life during this election cycle. And you're seeing an energy that I just have not seen. And my time being here in Wisconsin, and I've been here going on 11 years now. So I do think that like Elon entering the race did create excitement on the conservative side, and also you got to see people wanting to rebuke it on the liberal side.
Dan Shafer, looks like we don't have final results yet, but it appears that the trend seems to be turning towards what we're seeing so far coming in tonight. It seems to be turning towards Susan Crawford.
Yeah, all indicators right now are pointing towards a Crawford victory in the state of Wisconsin. We talked about early in the broadcast that Schimmel needed to get over 60% in Waukesha County. He's below that number. He's below a number of the indicators in counties in western Wisconsin. So as the night unfolds here, again, it's early. Again, these things can be unpredictable, but everything right now is trending in Susan Crawford's direction.
Yeah, other places around Wisconsin that Brad Schimmel is just not getting to where I think people that were backing him had hoped. Winnebago County, we talked about that at the top of the broadcast, the so-called bow counties of Brown, Outagamie, Winnebago. A lot of people that are listening or watching know that as the Valley, quote unquote, the Fox Valley. That was a place that Janet Protasewicz 2 years ago was able to flip towards the liberal Democratic side, whatever you want to say, and Dan Kelly lost. And that was a place, and to Nick's point, where Elon Musk spent time there this weekend giving out $1 million checks. Brad Schimmel had to do well there if he's going to win tonight.
Absolutely. And, I'm a UW Oshkosh graduate myself. I spent a lot of time there last fall writing a piece about the politics of the Fox Valley. It's a very swingy region. It's a very independent region. And right now we're seeing Crawford ahead in Winnebago County, which is home to UW Oshkosh, and in Outagamie County, she has a slight lead as well. And that is a county that Donald Trump won by nearly double digits last year, if not double digits. So, everything is coming up Crawford right now.
Everything's coming up Crawford. Isn't that Gypsy Rosalie, I think, from the musical Gypsy? All right, no actual results as that we could call at this time, but getting very, very close. If this were a Brewer game, you could smell the brats on the grill. Come on back as Wisconsin decides 2025 on the Civic Media Radio Network. That's just ridiculous because half.
We're talking about his experience with Medicaid. When I hear some of the Trump officials talk about this, the inference is that these are all
Are we
lazy
taking more
people
from
who just
Ramos?
don't want to work.
You know, my health took me out of my career. This isn't something I chose. It's something
I mean,
I had to live with.
does Savannah know she can't say that they won
They
until?
have all of this in place already. What they're doing is completely
Just let her say what's happening in the room. Like I think let's go to Savannah. Let her say what's happening in the room. If she sees people celebrating, we don't have to say the AP called it. We can say that she is seeing people celebrate at the Crawford Watch Party.
Thanks. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So you can tell Nick. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but we'll come back. Thank you very much. We'll go back to you in a little while here.
Nick, you're awesome.
I missed a lot of school during treatment, and
He gave the
all right, thanks.
To learn
okay
more
sign.
and get help on day 2, day 28, or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955-4572.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody.
Through all of fatherhood's first, never stop being a dad. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Missed your favorite show live on air? It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And we're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app.
Welcome to Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7.
And welcome back to Wisconsin Decides 2025 here at the Civic Media World Headquarters, along with Civic Media's political editor and founder of the Recombobulation area, Mr. Dan Shafer. I'm Todd Allbaugh. Glad to have you along with us as we continue on our way here on election night. Results are coming in fast and furious. Many thanks to Nick Ramos, by the way, for being with us here, the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. We may check back in with him a little while later, but right now, coming up about 8 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock. Polls have been closed now in Wisconsin for just under an hour. A reminder, particularly for listeners and viewers in the Milwaukee area, if you or someone you know is still in line, our understanding is there may be some delay in getting ballots to some of these polling locations in the Milwaukee area. Stay as long as you were there by 8 o'clock. Stay there. You are entitled to cast a ballot. Right now, let's go out to the field once again. WMDX's Savannah Tomei Olson standing by just a couple of blocks up from where Dan and I are, in on the park here on the Capitol Square at the Judge Susan Crawford campaign watch party. Savannah, give us a sense of the room. What are you seeing? What are you hearing up there?
Well, what's funny is that you would think that people will be watching the TV and cheering as the numbers change, right? And the party really just started. There have been so many people that have filtered in just in these last 30 minutes-ish, and lots of people are socializing. I honestly don't think a ton of them are turning around and looking at the screens behind them and to their side, because everybody seems to be just having a drink, having a good time. I can smell a fish fry, for what it's worth, some sort of fast stuff that's being sent around to everybody. But I keep kind of waiting for people to really start paying attention to the screens, because once they do, this crowd is going to be pretty thrilled.
Yeah, as Dan Shafer is reporting, the Associated Press has not called the race yet, but all indications are, from what we are seeing here, it seems to be that Brad Schimmel is not making his marks of where he needed to be if he was going to win this race tonight. Meanwhile, Susan Crawford seems to be, Dan, to your point, the roadmap of Janet Protasewicz seems to be followed tonight.
It does. And, once again, in these special elections, we're seeing incredible turnout from Dane County and incredible margins in Dane County right now. With 71% of the votes in, per the New York Times, Susan Crawford is nearing 80% of the vote. That's just remarkable in a county this size to be so lopsided. And across the state, western Wisconsin, Fox Valley, Waukesha County, a number of these places we're looking at as swing regions around the state. It is all going in Crawford's direction right now. She is running well ahead of where Kamala Harris was last fall. She is on track to win this race.
Savannah, you're reporting earlier, just based on your own personal experience, you said you went to the polls this morning, and it certainly felt like high, if not record turnout in your neck of the woods here in Dane County.
When I was there in the afternoon, the poll workers had told me that they were busy and pretty steady all day, but my husband went at 7:45 this morning, so 45 minutes into the polls being open, and in our little precinct of Dane County, he was almost voter number 200, and he was floored by that. He was like, I think I was like 300 in November when I went at the same time, so that really shows just exactly what you're talking about here with the turnout in Dane County. And that's unsurprising because if you talk to anybody, especially here in Madison, they have had people knocking on their doors just about every day these last 2 weeks. The money really shows in the boots on the ground going door to door here.
Yeah, Savannah, I really appreciate your great reporting. Let us know when you have more news and information. We'll certainly go back to you when we can, and stand by. We'll come back to you. Thank you very much, Savannah Tomei Olson at the Judge Susan Crawford campaign tonight at the Best Western Inn of the Park at the Capitol Square. Right now, 5 minutes before the hour here, the top of the hour, let's go quickly to Melissa Kay, who is standing by at the Judge Brad Schimmel watch party in Waukesha. Melissa, what are you hearing and seeing on the other side of the spectrum at the Schimmel campaign in Waukesha?
Well, Todd, it is definitely a rockin' party here. The rock band has taken the stage, and they're playing their hearts out up there. And the mood in the room is, I would say, they're just enjoying the music right now. Nobody's paying too much attention to the screens, and I haven't really seen a whole lot of reaction yet. But the band is playing loud, so I've had to move way down the hall so that I can hear you and you can hear me. Yes, they're loud.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you very much. I find it interesting. Melissa, you've been doing this for a while as well. But we hear you and also Savannah at the Crawford party. These people going to watch parties and not watching. This is new to me.
Everybody's just coming together, hanging out, and having a good time. And once they check their phones, they might have, or check Civic Media's live stream, of course. They may have some interesting reactions in the room when that happens.
Yes. Well, they do have Fox News up on the screen here, and people definitely dressed up to come out and party and socialize. So I think that's what they're focused on.
Very good, Melissa. Appreciate your great reporting. Let us know when you have new news information. We'll get it to you. Melissa Kay at the Judge Brad Schimmel watch party in Waukesha tonight. Still awaiting official results, Dan Shafer, but it appears that here in Dane County, that Melissa Agard seems to be on her way to being elected to a full term at the executive of Dane County. But again, that race has not technically been called.
Yeah, we're in the not technically been called stage of the night, even as things.
Wasn't there a line about not being technically pregnant or something? You can be kind of pregnant or something like that.
I don't want to get into that right now, but I do think as we take a step back and take a look at the big picture of what's going on in this race. This Wisconsin Supreme Court race has attracted so much money, so much attention, and this has been in so many ways viewed on as a referendum on what's going on with Donald Trump and with Elon Musk. And I think if these results hold, this will send an extraordinarily powerful message to the nation.
We are getting very close to results here at the Supreme Court race. Also update you on DPI and more. Stay with us. It's Wisconsin Insights 2025. Dan Shafer, Todd Allbaugh, coming back for Hour 2 of the Civic Media Radio Network.
.7 WMDX. John Peterson and Gordy Young.
On our next show, Mike McCabe from Substack will join us.
And he's writing about, are we waking up from the American dream?
The John and Gordy Show, weekday mornings 6 till 8.
Are you looking to kick up your nighttime entertainment? Good times await you at the Lazy Oaf Lounge, Madison's East Side place for friends and family to meet for fun and food. Test your knowledge with Monday trivia. Let your inner rock star out with Thursday karaoke, plus live music, and meet all your friends at the Lazy Oaf for the big game. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road in Madison. Follow them on Facebook or at lazyoaflounge.com.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. It's set for tomorrow, President Trump to announce new tariffs on America's trading partners after the stock markets close. Some of the options discussed say sources a 20% tariff on all imports and a second round of Canadian retaliatory tariffs on imported goods worth $125 billion. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine.
They will tax our national security industries. 35% of the aluminum and steel that go into the ships and subs that we build in this country come from Canada. We're already having a hard time producing ships and subs on time, on budget. This will make it worse.
Democratic Senator Cory Booker breaking the record for the longest Senate speech tonight after 25 hours and 4 minutes. He spoke out about what he says is, quote, the national crisis President Trump and Elon Musk have created. The Associated Press projecting that Republicans have won both congressional special elections today in Florida, and results expected later this evening in Wisconsin State Supreme Court election. This is ABC News.
Looking to strengthen the bond with your pup? Dane County Humane Society offers a variety of dog training classes led by certified trainers. Classes are designed to help you and your furry.
The Brewers lose to the Royals. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball, a sold-out crowd of nearly 42,000 saw the Brewers lose to Kansas City 11-1 on opening day in Milwaukee. The crew is now 0-4. Is manager Pat Murphy worried?
I mean, worry's a waste of time. We just got to get busy. We got great people in that room, and I believe in that room. I believe in this team. You guys can laugh at me if you want, but I believe in this team.
The Brewers never lost more than 3 games in a row last year. So far, they've given up 47 runs in just the first 4 games. Christian Yelich.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 4 games, but we got to do better. You know, it's unacceptable to do that, you know, over the course of 4 games. You know, it goes that way sometimes, and I know we didn't do that last year, but every year's a new year, and we got a new team, a new group, and we just need to do better.
NBA, the Bucks host the Phoenix Suns tonight. Shooting guard A.J. Green dealing with a sprained right shoulder. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Lots of rock stars experience hearing loss, but things look even more bleak for former frontman of The Who, Roger Daltrey. According to the New York Post, Daltrey recently said he is going deaf and blind. Daltrey, who turned 81 last month, downplayed his condition while on stage during a recent concert and chalked it up to the joys of getting old. The lead singer joked to the crowd that at least he still has his voice, or he would be full Tommy, referencing the pinball wizard and title character from the band's rock opera who couldn't hear, speak, or see. Fans of the animated show Rick and Morty have had to wait 1.5 years, but the show is coming back. Adult Swim released the trailer for the new season of the show, which was created in part by Wisconsinite and former Milwaukee comedy sports player Dan Harmon. The show has already been renewed through season 12. Season 8 drops May 25th on Adult Swim. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Areas of rain tonight. There could be some mixed snow at times, breezy with a low in the mid-30s. Rain and a few thunderstorms for tomorrow. Staying breezy, warmer too, high mid-60s. Partly sunny and low 50s Thursday. Currently 35 degrees.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Voter list maintenance is part of our election system. People die, change their names, or move out of state. Local, state, and county election officials use sophisticated voter registration data services such as ERIC.
Wisconsin decides 2025. Welcome back into the Civic Media World headquarters in downtown Madison, a block away from the Wisconsin state capitol, where very shortly we will find out who the newest jurist, the newest justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court will be seated a block away at that state capitol when the new session gets underway later this year. Good evening, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh from the Todd Allbaugh Show, along with the political editor of Civic Media and the founder of the Recombobulation area, Mr. Dan Shafer. Dan, always a pleasure to joining you on these election evenings. Results are coming in fast and furious. We don't have technical called races from the Associated Press, but we're getting pretty darn close.
We're getting a number of calls from a number of different places. And not only is everything headed towards being a Susan Crawford victory in this race, it is headed towards being a Susan Crawford wipeout. She is running well ahead of where Kamala Harris was in Wisconsin last year. Schimmel, his numbers are looking much closer to where Daniel Kelly was when he lost by an 11-point margin to Janet Protasewicz 2 years ago. I'm not sure if it's going to be that wide of a margin in this one, but everything is looking like Crawford is going to win and win decisively.
The other big race is the Wisconsin Superintendent of Public Instruction. And there, again, the Democratic endorsed candidate, the incumbent Dr. Jill Underly, seems to be having a good night.
Yeah, she seems to be having a pretty clear edge as well. She's running a couple points behind Susan Crawford, which is interesting in this race. We still have a lot of rural counties waiting to report some of these results, but a number of the swing counties that we tend to look at in the early going in these races have trended towards Underly.
And again, no official call yet, but we've talked about this ad nauseum, the constitutional amendment question requiring voter ID in Wisconsin. It looks like a pretty safe bet that that'll probably pass.
Yeah, that one, I'm double checking here. I think that one may have already been called by the AP as well. That one was not expected to be close, and as we expected, it is not close.
The only county so far in Wisconsin where it is being rejected is Dane County.
God bless you, Dane County.
We have a number of reporters across the state of Wisconsin who are covering these races for us, doing yeoman's work out in the field tonight. And right now, why don't we go to one of those, if we could, Mr. Zommers? Let's go to our very own James Kelly from up north in northwestern Wisconsin. And he is standing by the other part of the state in Wauwatosa at the Brittany Kinzer watch party tonight for the superintendent race. James, we appreciate you being there. What do you know? Any information at the Kinzer party for DPI tonight?
Absolutely. Well, I'm sorry to say this, Todd, but it is starting to feel like more of a social event than an election watch party here as well. There's definitely a quieter energy as the votes have come in. Kinzer dipped out of the room a few minutes ago. And she's down about 6 points or so currently. The energy is getting a little low in the room, but everyone's having a good time just talking to each other.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I saw this somewhere earlier in our reporting, but Kinzer's people were saying that if, and we don't know for sure, but if she does not come out victorious tonight, that she wasn't going to take questions. She was just kind of going to make a statement and leave.
definitely possible. We'll see how that works out at the end. I would be glad to ask some.
Yeah, I think most of our listeners, viewers would like to hear from her tonight, regardless. And again, we don't have official results right now, but to your point, and Dan Shafer is reporting as well, it appears that Dr. Underly, the incumbent, is looking fairly good right now, but we'll see how the official results go before the evening is done. James, anything else before we leave you tonight?
Just have a good rest of the show, guys. It's going great.
I'm sorry.
My downtime.
I didn't mean to say for the rest of the night. I'm just for now. Put it that way. So
for now. I'll come back to you guys later.
We always appreciate talking to you, and for another show. But James Kelly happens to be Dan Shafer, a New York Yankee fan, so there's an issue of bats. So we'll come back to that later.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you, James. Thanks for being there tonight. 10 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock right now as we continue on at Wisconsin Decides 2025. Dan Shafer and I awaiting official results of these races. Let's go once again back out in the field. Our great reporter, Derek Tritz, is at the Underly campaign. Dr. Jill Underly, just a block away or so at the Concourse Hotel here in downtown Madison. Derek, I would think it would be a bit more joyous so far, as things are, again, not technically called, but looking pretty good for Dr. Underly tonight.
The mood is definitely positive in the room, although it is still more of a low-key social event, it seems like, as Lisa Torben's treating it. They have the current results, the live results, up on the monitor, but no one's really paying attention to the monitor right now. A lot of people here just seem to be happy to see some old and familiar faces or some new faces and enjoying the fact that Underly is ahead at the moment.
All right. Sounds good, Derek. We appreciate you being there. Let us know if anything changes or any other news. And thank you very much for being there. Derek Tritz at the Dr. Jill Underly campaign. And I want to go back to you, Dan Shafer. Again, as we watch these results come in, we are awaiting the Associated Press call for the technical call on these races. But it appears that it's going to be a pretty good night for Judge Susan Crawford and Dr. Jill Underly. I want to go back to this point that you were making earlier about the possible margins. And again, in the Supreme Court race right now, what do we have in terms of total numbers? It looks like, 58%, so just shy of 60% right now. But if current trends hold, and if particularly Susan Crawford wins on a large margin here, what message does this send, not just about to the voters of Wisconsin, but to the nation?
I think because of the timing of this election and because it is happening under the spending, record spending from Elon Musk, it is going to send an extraordinarily powerful message, not just around Wisconsin, but nationally. Everybody's always going to look at Wisconsin as a bellwether, being that it is, the most closely contested state on the electoral map, was the closest state in the nation in the 2024 presidential election. If people see the results here and see not just a victory for Susan Crawford, but a sizable victory, which is kind of the direction that we are looking at right now, it is going to speak volumes as a referendum on Donald Trump, as a referendum on Elon Musk. And I think, in the counterexample here, if Schimmel were winning, it would seem like this would be the template for Republicans to take from state to state to state, that they would, bring this Elon spending to every race in the country. Now maybe they have to rethink that and consider the possibility that, of the backlash vote, of what we're seeing in this election here in the state of Wisconsin.
If you're just joining us, it's 13 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Civic Media's special coverage of Wisconsin Decides 2025, the spring election. We are awaiting the Associated Press's a technical call of these races, but we can tell you with 62% now of the vote in, Susan Crawford leads Brad Schimmel for the Supreme Court 55.9% to 44.1%. In the Department of Public Instruction race between the incumbent Dr. Jill Underly and Brittany Kinzer, It is Underly with 53.5% of the vote and Kinzer with 46.5% of the vote. Again, about 60% of the total vote ballots cast thus far. And in the statewide referendum on voter ID requirement to amend the Wisconsin Constitution, 55% of the vote in. Technically, not called, but the yes vote is 60.8% and the no 39.2% as we continue to follow these races and await the technical call and our great reporters out in the field tonight as well. Dan Shafer, political editor. You've been a journalist in Wisconsin's largest newspaper, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, for years. You're founded the Recombobulation area. You know this really, really well. I want to get down into the geeky stuff for a second in politics. The chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler, ran for the national chairmanship of the DNC, and he was unsuccessful. That meant that and that happened, February, so kind of early-ish, mid-ish in this race for Supreme Court. If Susan Crawford goes on to win tonight and Dr. Jill Underly, and if Crawford wins by big numbers, how much does Ben Wickler losing that DNC race and coming back and focusing on this race affect it?
It is an interesting point, right? I think, the infrastructure was there. I think Wickler wanted to see this race through regardless of how that DNC chair vote, unfolded there. But it is an interesting wrinkle, because it does seem like the campaign really started gaining steam when he was back in this race as well. I want to point out one thing for you on the results here that are happening statewide. And so I mentioned early in the broadcast, I was taking a look at what was happening in Waukesha County. This is Brad Schimmel's home county. This is where he was appointed as a judge. This has been a longtime Republican stronghold. Right now, with 87% of the votes counted, Brad Schimmel is at 57.8%. If that were to hold, that means he would run behind Daniel Kelly in Waukesha County. So in his home county, where he needed to get well over 60% of the vote to really be competitive on a statewide scale. Again, this is the third most populous county in the state of Wisconsin. But not only is he underperforming expectations, he's underperforming Daniel Kelly, who was perhaps the worst statewide candidate in Wisconsin in recent memory.
And that's why I chuckled a little bit when you said that, because he almost even amongst, for the people that listen to my show, they know I was a lifelong Republican up until 2011 when I left the party. But even people I still keep in contact with from the Republican Party privately, off the record, said we got no chance with this guy, Dan Kelly. And I think a lot of people, when they went out and basically, you could say recruited, what have you, Brad Schimmel is a guy who has won statewide as Attorney General. And he was thought to be a more likable person, better on the stump, better at the grassroots, better at fundraising, and he may come in tonight a bigger loser than Kelly.
It's possible. It is possible. And I think we have an AP call to announce here.
How about that?
Mr. Todd Allbaugh.
How about that? You want to do it, Dan? Go ahead.
Sure. With the official call at 9:16 p.m. on April 1st, 2025, the Associated Press has called that Susan Crawford has won the race for Wisconsin Supreme Court.
How about that?
An early call in a Wisconsin statewide race. Doesn't happen often, does it, Mr.
Not even
Allbaugh?
10 o'clock.
Not even 10 o'clock.
We got time to go have an old-fashioned. No, we got much more to come. We're going to take a quick break, do some business, and we'll come back. Let's talk to Nick Ramos again, since he was here. I'd like to get Nick's take on this call that Susan Crawford has won tonight. Stay with us. Dan Shafer, Aaron Zommers, Nick Ramos, Todd Allbaugh, everybody else. We'll come on back. More from Wisconsin Sides 2025 on Civic Media.
A new choice. Madison's Real News and Great Conversation. 92.7 WMDX. reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding, just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government and the aspiration for justice in America. As always, I am delighted. I am honored that you have chosen to spend some of your weekend time with me in discussion.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel. Saturday mornings from 9 to 11.
Every year, millions of pets go missing, leaving families heartbroken. If you lose or find a pet, Love Lost is here to help. Our free, easy-to-use platform uses photo matching technology across multiple media platforms to bring lost pets home. Just upload a photo and quickly search the largest national lost and found pet database. Let's unite to reunite, because every lost pet deserves to find their way home. Register today at lovelost.com.
The Todd Allbaugh Show.
Rob in Port Edwards.
I've been canvassing for over a month. My encouragement to each and every listener out there, if you are passionate about this, and I hope you are, talk to people and encourage them and give them straight information. What you really don't want to do is be confrontational, but if you respect these people, odds are they're going to say, hey, this guy is, he's square. He's got a point there.
The Todd Allbaugh Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
You are listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are always...
Welcome back to Wisconsin Decides 2025 here on April 1st, election night, Civic Media World Headquarters in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. Todd Allbaugh, along with Civic Media's political editor, sorry about that, Dan. You're in charge of politics here, let's put it that way, and also the founder of the Recombobulation area. We finally have some official results tonight in the Supreme Court race. Susan Crawford has, in fact, defeated Brad Schimmel. And a report tonight, some people I keep in contact with in Robin Voss's hometown of Burlington, Wisconsin. Some watch parties, and people seem to be ecstatic about that tonight, of the results.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Things are popping in Burlington tonight, as it turns out. But you wanted to say, this has some results tonight. A Crawford win have some very long-term implications in Wisconsin.
It absolutely does. And so this is, the 2023 race for Wisconsin Supreme Court that Janet Protasewicz won by 11-point margin. That flipped the balance of power to liberal control for the first time in quite a while. Now, once again, we had the balance of power on the line this year with Ann Walsh Bradley retiring, this race between Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. With Susan Crawford now winning this race, this will mean that there will likely be liberal control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court until at least 2028. I think, the next two justices that will be up are Rebecca Bradley in 2026, and if she chooses to run again, and Annette Ziegler in 2027. So there would really not be a chance for conservatives to flip the balance of power on the court until Rebecca Dallett's term is up in 2028. So if you're exhausted with these everything on the line balance of power elections in Wisconsin, we're not going to have one for Wisconsin Supreme Court for another few years. I think most Wisconsinites can at least take some relief in that.
Indeed. 23 minutes past the hour, 9 o'clock. Wisconsin Decides 2025. Let's go back out into the field. Our great reporter from WMDX here in Madison, Savannah Tomei Olson, standing by. What Savannah, I would think, would be a very boisterous. And have they started looking at the results yet? Have they started looking at the TVs at the Best Western Inn in the Park at the Crawford campaign?
They finally did, but it was a slow start. I talked to a couple voters in the crowd who said that they were really being cautious, especially after what happened in November. Ben Wickler, chair of Wisdems, just walked in the room. That was the cheering you just heard in the background. But there were it felt like it was quiet until it wasn't in here. Once CNN called it, there were tons of cheers. I spoke to one woman who immediately just burst into tears. And there was a chant of F Elon Musk in a small group. So you can really see where these voters were coming from and what this race meant to them.
I think this was an emotional race contest for a lot of people. There's a lot of issues that people went to the polls for today, whether it was women's reproductive or healthcare rights, whether it was marriage equality. There are some very personal things here. This wasn't just about maps, or this wasn't just about issues that came before the court. I think a lot of voters today took this race very personally, and could that be the reason that they're so emotional tonight at the Crawford campaign?
I mean, that's for sure. And I would say, especially because this is I would say at least more than 50% women crowd in this room right now. And that kind of tells you just how important this race was to, I think, women across the state, especially. There were people of all ages here too, which I was kind of surprised by. You don't always see that at election night watch parties, but it's a really diverse crowd here. I'm waving over at Ben Wickler right at this moment. It's nice he's so tall. This crowd was really taking their time. This is interesting. I've never really been at a watch party where a crowd was seeing results this good, but not really reacting. But that shows you just how burned a lot of people feel by how things went in November, and really wanted to wait and wait and wait. And then just the release for people here was pretty big and monumental.
Yeah, let's keep your mic open, Savannah. Stay with us just for a second. And if you get Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Democratic Party over there, just give us a holler. We'll go to you right away. We'll keep your mic open for a second. But Dan Shafer, to Savannah's point, a lot of Democrats in this state worked hard for Kamala Harris. They really thought there'd be a tipping. I think a lot of people went into election night on the Democratic side thinking it would be a Harris win, at least in Wisconsin. To Savannah's point, were Democrats just afraid of being snake bit again tonight?
Yeah, I think going into November last year, the line that many Democrats were telling me was that they were nauseously optimistic about the election. I heard many of those same type of energy when I was talking to sources over the course of the week. But I think there was that optimism was really starting to show toward the very end here. And I think it is partially because Democrats had been burned last year. Even though, Kamala Harris lost, she had more total votes in 2024 than Joe Biden had in 2020. There was a lot of energy in the state of Wisconsin. And I think now that has, what's happened with this race, with the way it's been nationalized, with the amount of attention that it has garnered, clearly the people have recognized how much was on the line with this race. And, obviously a victory for the Crawford campaign is going to bring about a pretty celebratory mood around the corner here in Madison.
Absolutely. Savannah, do you have anything more before we leave you tonight? Anything more to report right now, or should we go to Melissa at this point?
Not much here. We've just got lots of mingling and celebrating right now. I'm looking at oh yeah, we're not on. That's okay.
No, I got you. Well, you're doing it. Yeah, I got you. No, you're on. You're absolutely on. Keep doing a great job.
Well, then I have to tell.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to tell you here, Todd. I'm looking at a group of women in judges' robes and cowboy hats that have cow print on them right now. So I think the party is just starting there.
Doing a great job of giving us a sense of the room. I love that. Thank you very much. Stand by. We're going to come back to you in a minute at the Crawford campaign, a couple of blocks where Dan and I are at right now. You're at the Capitol Square, into the park at the Crawford campaign. Stand by there, Savannah. Let's go in the meantime to our other great reporter, Melissa Kay, tonight, who is in Waukesha at the Marriott West at the Judge Brad Schimmel party. And Melissa, my suspicion is things are not quite as jubilous down in Waukesha tonight.
No, things have become subdued a little bit. Brad Schimmel got up and gave his concession speech. He thanked everybody that helped him on his campaign, especially his wife. He said during his first time that he ran for office, she was a single mom. This time she was a campaign widow. And he made sure to name all of the people who helped him along his way, including his bus driver. And the mood in the room was subdued, but people congratulated him. He thanked everybody. People are still here. A few people have left, but there's still lots of food. It does sound like the band is going to play a little bit more. But yeah, there's still a ton of people here.
Stay tuned, Melissa Kane. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you in a minute at the Schimmel campaign. Dan and I are back after this. It's Wisconsinites 2025. You're listening to ongoing coverage on the Civic Media Radio Network.
92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. It's set for tomorrow, President Trump to announce new tariffs on America's trading partners after the stock markets close. Some of the options discussed say sources a 20% tariff on all imports and a second round of Canadian retaliatory tariffs on imported goods worth $125 billion. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine.
They will tax our national security industries. 35% of the aluminum and steel that go into the ships and subs that we build in this country come from Canada. We're already having a hard time producing ships and subs on time, on budget. This will make it worse.
Democratic Senator Cory Booker breaking the record for the longest Senate speech tonight after 25 hours and 4 minutes. He spoke out about what he says is, quote, the national crisis President Trump and Elon Musk have created. The Associated Press projecting that Republicans have won both congressional special elections today in Florida, and results expected later this evening in Wisconsin State Supreme Court election. This is ABC News.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
The Brewers lose to the Royals. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball, a sold-out crowd of nearly 42,000 saw the Brewers lose to Kansas City 11-1 on opening day in Milwaukee. The crew is now 0-4. Is manager Pat Murphy worried?
I mean, worry's a waste of time. We just got to get busy. We got great people in that room, and I believe in that room. I believe in this team. You guys can laugh at me if you want, but I believe in this team.
The Brewers never lost more than 3 games in a row last year. So far, they've given up 47 runs in just the first 4 games. Christian Yelich.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 4 games, but we got to do better. It's unacceptable to do that, over the course of 4 games. It goes that way sometimes, and I know we didn't do that last year, but every year's a new year, and we got a new team, a new group, and we just need to do better.
NBA, the Bucks host the Phoenix Suns tonight. Shooting guard A.J. Green dealing with a sprained right shoulder. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Winter is out and winning is in. It's our Break into Spring statewide Text to Win contest on your local Civic Media radio station. Your daily shot at a Chula Vista getaway. Milwaukee Brewers Club.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Areas of rain tonight. There could be some mixed snow at times. Breezy with a low in the mid-30s. Rain and a few thunderstorms for tomorrow. Staying breezy. Warmer too. High mid-60s. Partly sunny and low 50s Thursday. Currently 35 degrees.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Beyonce has always been ambitious, putting out album after album, switching genres, and putting out country music material, and apparently she even dreams about winning an Oscar. The Grammy-winning actress told her Austin Powers co-star Michael Caine that an Academy Award was her goal. Caine shared the info about the then 19-year-old Beyonce.
Somebody in the room recorded Schimmel's concession speech. Somebody in the room recorded part of Schimmel's concession speech. Do you want to hear what we have, or?
They're too bad, and we're not going to pull this off. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. God bless you. God bless the state of Wisconsin. God bless America.
Not yet. But Crawford herself is going to be coming on.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Decides 2025 on the Civic Media Radio Network from the world headquarters of Civic Media in downtown Madison. Good evening, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Dan Shafer, Civic Media's political editor and founder of the Recombobulation area. As we continue on with election night here, it has been decided the voters of Wisconsin have rejected outside money interests and have elected Susan Crawford as the next Supreme Court justice. That race has been called by the AP. We now go to the victory party for Susan Crawford, where Judge Crawford, the justice-elect, is giving her victory speech.
I'm here tonight because I spent my life fighting to do what's right. That's why I got into this race. Yep. To protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Wisconsinites. Growing up in Chippewa Falls, I was blessed with a loving family. Yeah, Chippewa! It was a great community where people watched out for each other. And my experiences growing up in small town Wisconsin shaped me into the person that I am today. Someone who values hard work, common sense, honesty, and who can tell right from wrong. Someone who watches out for people. But I've got to tell you, as a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world.
And I'm so grateful to have earned the trust and support of voters across this great state. And I'm here tonight because I've spent my life fighting to do what's right. That's why I got into this race, to protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Wisconsinites. Yes. Growing up in Chippewa Falls, I was blessed with a loving family. Yeah, Chippewa! Yeah! It was a great community where people watched out for each other. And my experiences growing up in small town Wisconsin shaped me into the person that I am today. Someone who values hard work, common sense, honesty, and who can tell right from wrong. Someone who watches out for people. But I've got to tell you, as a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world. For justice in Wisconsin. And we won. I've spent my whole career fighting for Wisconsin as a prosecutor, a lawyer, a judge, and now a soon-to-be justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Standing up for our fundamental rights and freedoms, protecting Wisconsin families and communities. My promise to Wisconsin is clear. I will be a fair, impartial, and common sense justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And I want to thank everyone across the state who helped to get us to this point. I'm here because of you. To every volunteer who made this happen, for every phone call, every door knocked, every text sent, every postcard written and mailed, it all paid off. Thank you so much. To all of my friends and colleagues, thank you for your unwavering support, friendship, and words of encouragement. To my campaign staff, led by the incredible Cassie Finelli. There she is. Thank you for all of your work to make this happen. All the late nights, all the long drives. I'm so grateful to all of you for all your work. Thank you. She's the best. They're all the best. To all of our partners and everyone who worked so tirelessly to get us to this point, thank you. And to my friends, justices, Ann Walsh Bradley, Justice Rebecca Dallett, Justice Jill Karofsky, and Justice Janet Protasewicz. Now, I am so humbled to have had all of your unwavering support and encouragement since day one in this race. And to Ann, although no one can truly fill your shoes, I am incredibly honored to succeed you on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. You leave an incredible legacy of service to our state. And you are the embodiment of fairness and integrity, and I'll try to make you proud. It's true. And to my family who stand with me here today. My husband, Sean. My kids, Fred and Maisie. My brothers, Eric and Philip, who are here somewhere. There they are. My nephew, Evan. And to my mom and dad and the rest of the family watching from home. Thank you for all of your love and support and for standing by me throughout this crazy journey. and to Petra and Phoebe, our furry friends. And to my mom, happy birthday.
Again, this is now Justice-elect Susan Crawford giving her victory speech tonight. Big night for her, just up the street to the Inn of the Park at the Capitol Square here in downtown Madison. She has won the race tonight with 72% of the vote now in. It is Crawford with 55% of the vote and Brad Schimmel with 45% of the vote. Go back to Savannah Tomei Olson in a minute, but first of all, Dan Shafer, as wonderful as that speech is for her and her supporters tonight, I think perhaps the bigger news and perhaps the more important thing tonight is there's reporting from those in the room that the person who lost the race tonight, former Republican Attorney General and Judge Brad Schimmel of Waukesha, said he called Justice-elect Crawford tonight and conceded the race. And we're going to play a bit of his concession speech tonight. But in this day and age, that is news.
It is. And I think it is really important that Schimmel did, address his supporters and speak and concede in this race. Because we saw last fall when Eric Hovde, who lost to Tammy Baldwin, we saw he didn't concede in the race. We saw all the craziness that happened after the results in 2020. It shouldn't be a lot to ask for candidates to accept these results. But in this day and age, it is important. And I think it is meaningful that Schimmel went forward and conceded in this race.
Commendable,
tonight.
I'll say.
Yeah.
That whoever loses says, look, we might not be happy, but we're conceding a race. Zommers, if we can, let's take a little bit of that speech now. Here is Judge Brad Schimmel from Waukesha tonight, just moments ago, with his concession speech.
Too bad, and we're not going to pull this off. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. God bless you. God bless the state of Wisconsin. God bless America. We will rise again. We'll get up to fight another day. But this wasn't our day. Thank you guys. God bless you.
Brad Schimmel, Judge Brad Schimmel, in his concession speech tonight in Waukesha, again, reports from people there that Schimmel said that he called Justice-elect Susan Crawford and conceded the election. Again, with 73% of the vote in, it is Crawford almost 54.9, almost 55%, and Brad Schimmel 45% right now. Let's go, if we can, to Melissa Kay, who is standing by at Waukesha at the Schimmel event. And Melissa, we just played a bit. If you got that audio, thank you very much for doing that. And again, Dan and I were saying, in today's day, there was a time when it was just normal and accepted and anticipated. But the fact that Judge Schimmel tonight conceded, I think, was a big thing in this race tonight in, again, just maintaining people's faith in the elections in Wisconsin.
Absolutely, because politics should be about the people, and they want to work for the people. Well, you can't be a sore loser and say you want what's best for people when people voted. And I think that was overall the kind of, I would say everybody was disappointed in that room, obviously, but I did get to speak with Senator Corey Tomchek a little bit after the race was announced, and he said, Wisconsin people voted, and he said, I hope that they get what they voted for. So it was kind of the overarching result there.
Anything else, Melissa Kay, before we say goodnight to you? Great job tonight down there in Waukesha at the Schimmel event at the Marriott West. But any other just kind of overarching things you'd like to make sure our listeners across Wisconsin know tonight from the Schimmel event?
I think that it was just such a nice results of, I did get from Corey Tomchek as well, a little bit of insight into the election. He was at Central Count, and he talked to the election process and how professional it was done. Yes, there are some things that can be improved, but Wisconsin voters turned out tonight and they spoke, and our elections are secure and free and fair.
Great job tonight, Melissa. As always, we really appreciate you. Careful on the drive back to Wisconsin Rapids tonight, but a great job tonight. We really appreciate you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Todd and Dan. Thank you.
Our pleasure. That is Melissa Kay, a great report tonight in Waukesha at the Schimmel event, where Judge Schimmel did in fact concede to now Justice-elect Susan Crawford tonight. Zommers, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the DPI race before the break here very quickly? Very good. Let's go to Derek Tritz, who is just a block away from Dan and I at the Concourse Hotel at the Dr. Jill Underly campaign. I've left you about a minute before the break, Derek, but no official call yet. But what do you know so far at the Underly event?
Things are looking positive here. Just a little while ago, I saw people at the Underly party watching the Crawford speech. And with the results still polling ahead, it looks like people are still keeping their positive spirits up. I think I was just hearing that the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel had called it for Underly, but no official results on my end yet here.
All right. Great job, Derek. Thank you very much for that information. Dan, this one has tightened up a bit now with 76% of the results in, 52% for Underly, 47% for Kinzer. Other places may be calling it. It looks like Underly is on its way, but it's going to be a smaller margin than Crawford's victory.
Yeah, that's right. I think, Crawford is going to run a little bit ahead of Underly, but Underly is on track to win this race. But, as kind of we talked about early on and throughout this state superintendent race, this is going to be a much closer margin than we've seen in this race in quite some time. This has not typically been a very closely contested race. It has been since the 1990s when there has been a single-digit margin in the race. Underly right now has about a 5 to 6% lead in the race. This is much closer than it has been in a long time. again, it does look like Underly is going to pull this one off.
All right, very good. We're going to come back and go to James Kelly, who is at the Brittany Kinzer event tonight. Of course, the Republican-endorsed candidate. We'll come back, talk to him, and wrap things up here as Wisconsin decides 2025. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison, real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding, just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government and the aspiration for justice in America. As always, I am delighted. I am honored that you have chosen to spend some of your weekend time with me.
We can ask her to call back in.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel. Saturday mornings from 9 to 11.
Nothing you could say could tear me away from my dog. My dog is Shallow, y'all. Hi, I'm Smokey Robinson. When you adopt a shelter pet, you not only bring joy and love into your home, you also give another animal the chance to experience that special bond. Join me in supporting American Humane Society and their incredible work to help our most vulnerable friends. Together, we can make a real difference. Donate today at AmericanHumane.org.
The John and Gordy Show.
Let's go back to the phones. We've got Matt on the line.
Morning, guys. Thanks again for what you do in Civic Media. Wondering what you think about Elon Musk's recent comments about empathy being the weakness of the West. It's because we're too empathetic, you know? We actually care about people. I mean, what's wrong with us, right?
Yeah.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody.
Through all the fatherhoods first, never stop being a dad. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You are never far away.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Decides 2025, 9 minutes before the hour of 10 o'clock, along with Civic Media's political editor and founder of the Recombobulation area, Dan Shafer. I'm Todd Allbaugh. Glad to have you here with us this evening. We can tell you that Judge Susan Crawford is now Justice-elect Susan Crawford, as the Democratic-backed candidate has defeated Republican-backed candidate of Judge Brad Schimmel. So far, with 76% of the votes in, it is Crawford 54.6%, Brad Schimmel 45.4%. Crawford has given her victory speech, and Brad Schimmel, just as importantly, perhaps more importantly, has given a concession speech tonight and has called Justice-elect Crawford to concede the race. In the question of voter ID requirement, amending the Wisconsin Constitution, again, no official call, but with 80% of the vote now in. The yeses have it at 62.9 and the noes at 37.1. And Dan Shafer, now Iowa County, has joined Dane in voting no. How about that?
How about that?
The only two counties in Wisconsin voting no on the voter ID requirement. And in the DPI race, Department of Public Instruction now with 78% of the vote in. It is the incumbent Democratic Party Wisconsin-backed Jill Underly with 52.5% of the vote, and Republican Party Wisconsin-backed Brittany Kinzer with 47.5% of the vote. We heard from Derek Tritz at the Underly campaign. Let's go back out in the field. Our great reporter, James Kelly, who is standing by at the Kinzer event in Wauwatosa. And James, what can you tell us? What is the mood? What are people saying there at the Kinzer event tonight, James?
Well, a handful of people have already started to leave, grabbed their coats. Kinzer backed out of the room about 9 o'clock, has yet to return, I assume, to watch the results come in a little more closely in private without getting swamped by all the attendees at the party. But news is starting to get around that this election may not be going their way, so I believe they are getting ready to speak soon.
All right, very good. But no word of a talk of a concession speech or anything like that yet from Kinzer's people.
Not yet. They've mostly been hanging out in the back hallways right now, but a bit of movement back there. So I think things are going to get going here pretty soon.
All right, sounds good. Well, James, keep us up to date. Doing a great job down there in Wauwatosa. Are they putting you up at a hotel, or do you have to drive all the way back to Eau Claire tonight?
Oh, no, I'm staying here.
Oh,
Come
fantastic.
on, man. I work mornings. This is way too late for me.
I didn't know. I'm concerned about you. That's all. I just want to make sure you're taken care of.
I appreciate the
All right.
concern.
All right, James. Thank you very much. Great job tonight, my friend. Really appreciate all your great work down there at the Kinzer campaign in Wauwatosa. Dan Shafer, starting to wrap things up here now, and it's looking more and more like it will be underly, although it might be much closer. But again, give us your overall thoughts tonight, as it appears that Susan Crawford is going to win this Supreme Court race by as much of, maybe bigger margins than Janet Protasewicz won her race 2 years ago.
Yeah, this is a big night for Wisconsin Democrats, a big night for Wisconsin voters who I think in so many ways wanted to send a message to the Trump administration, to Elon Musk. I think this race became, because of it's happening just 71 days into the Trump's second term, after everything that's been happening with, kind of taking a wrecking ball to various federal agencies over the past few months. This is going to be seen as a referendum on Trump, a referendum on Musk. And, as Democrats in the national level have kind of had uneven responses to what's been going on here, I think, polls and narratives and all those different things carry a certain amount of weight. Votes in a state like Wisconsin carry so much more weight, and I think these results are going to speak volumes.
Before we go back to Savannah Tomei Olson, give us 45 seconds, a minute. The Republican Party of Wisconsin. This is a big loss for them tonight, at least for the Supreme Court race, maybe the DPI as well. There is a governor's race coming up in less than 2 years in this state. Where does this leave the Republican Party of Wisconsin?
Well, I think the big question for Republicans, not just in Wisconsin, but nationally, is that coalition that they've built with Trump going to hold without Trump himself on the ballot? Because I think when Trump has been on the ballot, Wisconsin Republicans have done especially well. When he's not been on the ballot, they are not winning in the same way. So I think that is going to be a challenge for them going forward, and for getting some of those low propensity voters that swung towards Trump in the 2024 presidential election, what that's going to mean for them going forward. Because look, Brad Schimmel was running in this race for a really long time. Mm-hmm. He announced for this race before Eric Hovde jumped into the race for Senate. Like, they clearly prioritized this. They had their candidate, and not only is he not going to win, he's going to lose by a pretty significant margin, not unlike the margin that Daniel Kelly lost by without all the Elon money, without the state party support that he lost with 2 years ago.
But the college Republican chair at Madison is $1 million richer. So there's that. Let's go quickly to Savannah Tomei Olson, standing by at a victorious Crawford campaign. If you could do it in about 45 seconds, Savannah, wrap things up there. What do you know?
Things are pretty overjoyed vibe here. We've now got Party in the USA playing by Miley Cyrus over the loudspeakers. People were really hesitant at first to start celebrating before these calls were officially made, and the speech by Susan Crawford had a lot of tears on the stage. She had all liberal justices with her, all women, as some people in the crowd pointed out, on the stage with her. And it was pretty emotional, especially for Justice Jill Karofsky. I could spot her from across the room there.
Great job tonight, Savannah. As always, thank you so very much for being there. I know you'll update us more on Civic Media tomorrow. Thank you very much, Savannah. Have a great evening here in Madison. The Susan Crawford campaign into the park. Dan Shafer, last 20 seconds, wrapping it up.
It's an extraordinary night for Wisconsin. This is perhaps the biggest state-level race we're seeing anywhere in the country this year, and Wisconsin delivered a powerful message.
Before we leave you tonight, we want to take a moment to thank all the people behind the mics and cameras that make this happen. Our CEO, Sage Weil, Vice President Corey Hartman, Content Director David Hyland, Operations Director Luke Mathers, Executive Producer Jamie Martinson, Engineer Chris Casper, Producer and Engineer, the fantastic Mr. Aaron Zommers. This has been Wisconsin Decides 2025. Stay tuned now for regular programming across Civic Media. For our entire team, for my co-anchor Dan Shafer, I'm Todd Allbaugh. Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.